Hello and welcome to my living room. Today I'm going to do a review of the gear I took on the West Highland Way hike. I did make a video before I went, but there was things that worked and things that didn't, so I thought I'd do a review of everything now once I'm back and give you sort of an overview of how everything worked and what didn't, etc. So yeah, let's get on with it. So the first thing I'm going to start with is my rucksack I used. This is the Osprey Exos 48 in large, so it's technically 51 litres, but whatever. Fantastic bag, absolutely fantastic. Not the lightest bag in the world, it's 1.2 I think it is for the large, 1.15, something like that. It worked flawlessly. It was a pleasure to wear. I had no rubbing, it didn't ache, it supported all the weight properly. Yeah, it was the least hassleist thing I took. It all worked perfectly and it held up brilliantly. I also took the Osprey rain cover. It's not a waterproof bag, but with that it rained 2 days quite heavily. One was quite heavily, one was a bit, and yeah, kept everything perfectly dry. Yeah, this will be one thing I will not change. It is my go-to bag from now on. It is brilliant. And luckily I've bought the old version, which is the new version. They've got rid of the pockets there, and they've made this pouch here non-stretchy. You can see I've got a couple of holes here, there, and in the thing, but it worked perfectly, absolutely brilliantly, and I'm glad I got this one. Yeah, they got rid of these little pockets as well, apparently, on the new version. So, very handy then. I kept my monocular in there, so I was able to sort of take in the views. This pocket I tend to use for putting my bandana. Yeah, bandana. Used I took 2 of these. Oh God, so useful item. I used it for everything from wiping my nose to wiping the sweat, having a wash with one, pot, holding my pot. It just, yeah, that just got tucked in there like that, so I could get access to it. These pockets I had my inhalers, insect spray, and my Mozzie net, head net in there. And in this one I filled it with as many Mars bars as I could, and yeah, it worked really well. I get about 6 Mars bars in there, so yeah, Osprey Exos 48, brilliant bag. Next is my shelter. Needs no introduction, it's the Lux X Peak V4A. Fantastic tent, it worked brilliantly. I've had problems with it on Dartmoor with condensation, which I just thought was the tent. I had absolutely no condensation issues at all in Scotland, at all. The little bit it did get condensation, which was 2 nights, it dried off within half an hour of being pitched again. It was brilliant. It was occasionally a bit pain to pitch, but then that's the hex peak all over. It can be a pain, but I mean, for a sub £200 tent, it's faultless. It really is. This tent will go up against tents twice, 3 times its price, and is equal. Basically, if you've got 200 quid, you want a tent, buy Lux Hex Peak. You will not be disappointed at all. Yeah, so of course I used it with my old and getting rather grubby Black Diamond Cork Ergo Trail whatever. One thing I did do was I wrapped Gorilla Tape around the handle there on both of them. That actually came quite handy for repairs and stuff. I had to repair my phone case, what else was it? There was something else. I had to do a water bottle. I used the silver for the water bottle, which I should have done actually because it didn't work, but I should have used this. But yeah, so this was my shower, and it, yeah, for Scotland it was perfect, absolutely perfect. We'll take again. So yes, like Tex Peak. Now we move on to my sleep system that I used. Start off with the sleeping bag. This is the Mountain Hardware Lamina Z Flame -6 bag. The mat I used is my X-Bed Sinmat UL9, and my new pillow, which is the Eros Cedar Summit Eros Supreme or Premium. This, oh, why didn't I ever buy one of these before? Oh, amazing pillow, absolutely amazing pillow. Made my sleep so much better. So it's heavier than the X-Bed. I was using the X-Bed before. It's 20-30 grams heavier, but who cares? Much more comfortable. The mat, yeah, it worked well. It's comfy. I'm beginning to think it's a bit overkill. I've been using this all year round, but it does have a temperature rating, has an R value of 6, so it's about -20. So yeah, I'm swapping this out for a summer one. But in Scotland, I didn't know, the week before I went, it snowed heavily, so yeah, that worked fine. Polycro ground sheet. Yeah, what can I say? It's Polycro, it's a ground sheet. Now we come on to my sleeping bag. It worked well, but multi-day usage, I found it was getting bothersome. I'd toss and turn, that's how I sleep, and I'm a side sleeper. So what I would do is I'd wake up wrapped up in the sleeping bag, as it were, and it was a pain to get out of. When you're one night in and stuff, it's not, it doesn't matter because you get up and you go, but this was the thing that kept me awake, was I'd get wrapped up in the sleeping bag and then I couldn't move and I'd need to get up to go for a wee or something, and then it would be like, it was just, yeah, multiple days of that was getting to be a hassle. So, although this is a good sleeping bag, I will be swapping it for a quilt because it was just too much of a faff. And I've noticed, I found on the multi-day usage of things that you just want everything to work. You just want to wrap it around you and go to sleep. You don't want to be turning and then you get a cold spot because you've moved and then you rolled onto your side and it's twisted around, and it was, yeah. So I will be swapping this out for a quilt. I'm going to go for one of the Apex synthetic quilts. I can't use down because I'm asthmatic, so I have to go synthetic, but it will be lighter. This came in at 1.4 kilos. This is an extra large long because I'm quite tall, so this quilt, it won't be quite the same. It will be 0 degree quilt, but it will come in about 800 grams, so it will save a lot of weight. But I will rate the sleeping bag. It is a good bag and I will keep using it until I get my quilt. But it is one of the things I will be swapping out to a quilt because, yeah, sleep bags, just, you just get, yeah. There you go. Now we come on to the cook set I took. I took my ever new 750ml pot with the accompanying cup. And I used with that the BRS, whatever it is, little gas stove. Of course, I used a large can of gas. I had issues with this gas stove. I've never had a problem with it before, and of course the day I take it on a multi-day hike, I have troubles with it. It kept coming undone while I was using it. You'd screw it on, you'd light it, and it would burn, and then it would go out. And then you turn it off, and you noticed it would come loose, so you tighten it back up again, and then it would work. But it did it a few times. So I got not to trust it in the end. Yeah, it worked all right. It was, you know, it sits on there. And I was only water boiling, so it wasn't a major issue. But yeah, once I start not trusting something, it's gone. I'm not using this again. I don't know why. I've read on some forums that the valve can be a bit whatever. I suppose that's why it's 12 quid. But yeah, I won't be using this cook set again. Well, not this anyway. It was light. I picked the lightest option I had because all this fitted in, sort of like. It's the reason I picked it really, because it all fitted in like that, and I can just. And I use that spoon, the Cedar Summit long anodised aluminium. So it all went into there like that. But yeah, I want something reliable. So this will be. I'm swapping it back out to going to Beth's again. Yeah, I'm having a long, hard think about my ultimate cook set because, as I mentioned before, I want to do the TGO, and I want a stove that will work for 2 weeks regardless. So what I'm probably going to do is invest some money and go for a tri-tie Caldera cone with the Inferno. Is it the Inferno? Yeah, the wood burning insert. That allowed me to use meths, Esbit tablets, and wood and stuff. Because I noticed when I was in Scotland, there was a lot of wood around, a lot of natural fuel for your stove. So having something that you can heat your water up with wood that you've got lying around saves you fuel. So that's what I'm going to switch over. It's a bit pricey and it's not going to be tomorrow. So for now, I'll carry on using my out kit with the storming cone. If I do want to go to gas, I do have an MSR pocket rocket, which I should have took. The only reason I did, because it doesn't work well with this pot, because this pot is quite narrow, and yeah, it makes it can be very unstable on the pocket rocket. But yeah, I like this pot a lot, but it's too narrow. It's a real shame, really. But I will be getting another Avenue. I'm going for the Avenue 900 non-stick with the frying pan lid. It's a little bit. It's a lot heavier than this. It's about nearly twice as much, maybe something like that. It'll allow me to cook properly. This just water boils. So I keep dropping it. This is a good water boiler, but as I'll come on to when I talk about the food I took. I want something that's a bit more than a water boiler. I want to be able to cook food. Because, yeah, I'll come on to that when I talk about the food. But yeah, I rated this quite highly because it's 27 grams, cost 12 quid, this little BR stove, but it failed on me twice. And yeah, it's gone. It's not going to be used again because I can't trust it. So, there you go. That was the cook set. This was the bag I carried all my food in. The food is no longer in there because I've eaten this is for another day, other hike I've got coming up. So I will now switch and show you the food which I filmed before I went. Empty coffee bags, not going overboard. Carried a few meals. Nothing makes about 1.2 kilos in food. Not going overboard. I can get a lot of it on the way, but I just don't know how much I can. Or whatever, I want to give myself a bit of freedom where I camp and all the rest of it. So yeah, so I've got a few of them. Cozy for the bags. Should be no problem at all. So yeah, that's pretty simple really. Yes, the food. I didn't get on well with it at all. Some of it didn't rehydrate properly even after leaving it for 30 minutes. Some was just bland. Some of it needed seasoning and didn't have enough salt in it. Oh, excuse me. It's the reason I'm changing my cook set. Like revamping it basically. Some people get on with the boil in the bag. Sort of like, you know, sort of expedition foods and all the rest of it, but I just, yeah, a lot of the time they weren't very nice, and yeah, I think I could do better, or cook better, should I say. Titanium's okay for boiling water, and it's not very, if you cook food it tends to burn or whatever, so that's why I'm going to go with an Avenue non-stick. Give me more options to eat. Food and calories, you know what I mean, energy on the hike is important. It's almost one of the most important things you can do. And I ended up having to eat out a lot and buy stuff from shops to supplement the pouches, because they were just weren't that good. So yes, but I don't think I'll be using pouches much more for multi-day hikes. I just didn't get on well with them. So yeah, so the food was a bit of a... Now we move on to the electronics, whatever. I swapped out my old power pack for an EasyAC. I think this is a 13,000 milliamp. The reason why I swapped this one out is because it went with this plug. This has 2 charge sockets. So it means if you get a charger that's got multiple USB ports, you can put 2 charge cables into that and charge it up twice as fast. Now, I had an issue with this the first night I tried to charge it, but it wasn't really this fault, it was my fault. I was trying to charge it at Bean Glass campsite, and they only had one plug, and it was in the pub, and everyone else was trying to use it to charge their phones. So I couldn't really get a good long charge time on this. When I got to By the Way, which had loads of plugs, I plugged this in, it was nearly empty, and 4 hours later it was fully charged, which lasted me for the rest of the hike. My old one could take up to 12 hours to fully charge, so this did work really well with this plug. They are heavy. It was, I think my electronics all came in at 500 grams in total, with the extra cables and blah blah blah, but because I was filming it, it was necessary, so yes. So that worked really well, that worked really well. What else did I take? Oh yeah, and of course my infamous Christmas tree lights. These weigh 80 grams with the batteries. They look silly, but they work really well as an in-tent lighting system. What I do is I run this cable, it's a bit tight up, but whatever, up my hiking pole, and it comes. It's enough to go up the hiking pole and come back down, and I wrap it round, and it just creates a nice yellow light in the tent. It's enough. It's not enough to whatever, but it's enough to like cook by, see what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And it's not that dissimilar to the MSR in-tent light system from what I've seen. I think it's the same LSDs really, but these were £4 from some Christmas shop at Christmas, and takes 2 AA batteries, and 4 batteries lasted me the entire trip. Sometimes I'd fall asleep with it on and forget and leave it on all night, so I think about 3 or 4 times it actually stayed on all night, and yeah, see, works perfectly fine. I think this works better than the lantern that you hang up. I prefer this. It's more ambient, it's more sort of like all over rather than a beam. So yeah, my Christmas tree lights, which I must untangle. But yeah, anyway, that's the other thing I came. Some headphones, extra cables. I had to take 3 lots of cables because 1 was for the phone, 2 were for the charger, and 1 was for the camera. I had a lot of issues with the camera, which is over there. I suspected, but did nothing about before I came, that the battery was going, and while I was waiting, it actually went. It wouldn't hold a charge, basically. So I was literally having to keep this in my pocket with a cable running across, and that in this other pocket here, and just had to keep it on a trickle charge, which I think The reason why this ran out so fast because it had to keep charging constantly. But I've now since bought a new battery and it's not doing it anymore, so that was the problem. Yeah, so all that came to about 500 grams ish. So that was my electronics. Now we come on to like personal hygiene and first aid. First aid kit. I had to take a bigger one than I normally had. It's got things like Compeed, bandages. I took some Germaline, some wipes. There was painkillers, antihistamines, all sorts in there. I didn't hardly need anything, but it's always the case. I had no problem with blisters or anything like that. I got quite ill on the first day, as you've seen from the video, so I had to take painkillers. They were handy. I also had, not these ones, where were they? No, they're gone. Rehydration tablets. These were a godsend on the first and second day, absolute godsend. Yeah, I always take them now. What else did I take? Spare inhalers because I'm asthmatic, so I had the brown one, which is my daily one, and the blue, which I kept in the side pocket, along with my mosquito midgie head net and midgie spray, which I didn't need, but they were there in case. You never know, so that's what came. I use this a lot. This is travel soap. This is a environmentally friendly soap, and I used it to wash my pots, wash myself. Personal hygiene on multi-days was much more important. Keep yourself clean as you know, and dry and fresh and all the rest of it. It stops chaffing, it stops rashes, and you don't smell. Basically, you do end up smelling, and the more you can get rid of it, the better. I did take a little bottle of sort of shower gel for when I was on the campsite, so I could use the showers. But yeah, that's what I used, that travel soap, for when I was actually washing in the streams, and I had to wash my clothes and blah blah blah. Oh yeah, foot cream. This is the Garwal foot cream extra. I use this every night on my feet, and yeah, I put this. I sort of clean my feet, wash my feet, dry them, give a good rub with that, put bed socks on, and yeah, I had no issues with my feet at all. I had aches and pains and sort of all the rest of it. I bruised my foot at one point, and that was Loch Lomond for you. But that's just foot wear and tear I class as on the hike rather than. But that did look after my feet. Body Glide anti-chaff. This worked really well. I used it. I didn't have chaffing, but I could feel I was getting a bit sore at one point. That just stopped it. Perfectly fine. That worked really well. And what else did I have? Oh yeah, toothbrush, toothpaste, as is. The towel I took was a Life Venture Trek. It was the hydro fibre. Quite a big one. It was 100 grams. But yeah, because I was using it I was having showers at the campsites. Perfect. Absolutely well. And it dried really, really quickly. So I'd have a shower, take it back to my tent, hang it up, and within a couple of hours it was dry. So yeah, that was my hygiene and first aid kit. All worked fine. Tweak a little bit, I need to get some more of this, but don't think I'll take that, all the rest of it. But yeah, that all worked really well. Now we come to bits and bobs that I also took. Soy filter. Yeah. Have I got the one that broke? Yeah. I had one that one of the bottles actually broke on me. It wasn't an issue because I always carry two. But yeah, I've used this for like 2-3 years now. This is a Soy Mini, and I didn't have a problem with it in Scotland. the problem I had was that the flow rate was low, and when you're just hiking for a day or so, you don't notice it particularly. But when you're trying to do 20 miles a day and you're stopping quite regularly, because I was only carrying two 600ml bottles for water, so you have to stop quite regularly for water, and it got a pain in the end. So I'm going to get the soy squeeze. I'm going to upgrade this to the bigger one. It just seems to be, the flow rate seems to be a lot better on the larger one than this one. I've seen other people use, is it the MSR Trail Shot, and there's another one that's out that people tend to use. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the squeeze because basically there's no moving parts, there's nothing to break. I've had this one for 3 years. It works fine. It's just slow. Sometimes it was taking me 20 minutes because what you do is you drink the water you've got left, then you'd fill a bottle of water, and then you drink that, and then you'd fill your bottles back up. So you're filling about 2 litres of water in total, and it could take 20, sometimes 30 minutes to the time you've got them, and it was just, yeah. I want to speed that process up, so I'm going to step up to the soy squeeze. Nothing wrong with this, it was just a and that was the other thing as well. You could screw this on top of the bottle. I've seen hikers do that before. But what I found was that trying to get enough water through there to drink what I felt was adequately was a bit hard. So, and I've heard that the soy squeeze is actually better for that as well, to screw it directly straight into a bottle. Yeah, so if you get your bottle, what a lot of them do is you just screw it straight up to the top of there and drink like that. I found it quite hard to do that, so I'm going to get a squeeze, which is the one up, and yeah, see if that's any better. That's the bottles I use. They're just standard soda bottles, 600ml though, because they fitted really well in the side pockets of the Exos, and I was able to grab them. And there was also, there's a sort of what's it called, a strap, a compression strap that sort of comes down here, and I found you could just loop it around the lid and it just held them all. It was just, yeah, so them bottles. But yeah, that's one thing that's going to get changed. Yeah, enough said. Hand sanitizer. I use this all the time. All the time. Every time I touch water or anything, sort of like the earth or anything, I clean my hands. I think that's really important that you do that. I was reading on the Facebook group that a woman got ill from drinking the water on the West Highland Way. I don't know if that's because she didn't clean her out, I don't know, but there was people saying, oh, you can drink straight from the stream. Yeah, you might be able to, but keeping your hands clean, I think, because you touch your hands, yeah, it's just so important. Yeah. So antibacterial hand gel I used the whole, that was new, and it's nearly empty. Tissues, I'm going to swap these out for some biodegradable ones. I didn't know you could get them. I found out since you can. I just use normal tissues, paper. They will break down, but you know what I mean. And digger is a digger, and that's a digger. What else we got? Oh yeah, my bits bag. This was a bag, little nest bag. It's actually the Outkit pop bag. I used this to keep everything else in the top lid on the brain, on the Exos, but really didn't go any. I couldn't figure out where to go put them. So I had 2 spare lighters. I had some matches in a little plastic box that were waterproof, and a bit. I always carry multiple fire because I had a little bic in the pot, but you never know, so multiple. What else do I keep in it? Oh, my head torch. Just a USB eBay special, but yeah, worked really well. Didn't have much use for it actually because I wasn't hiking in the dark, but and the tent light works well for seeing everything else inside the tent. I don't usually need this to sort of you know, be outside, but it came and it's USB, so if no batteries for it, I can charge it with a USB port. Spare cordage, because you never know. I took two knives, took the, I think this is number 7, an Oppenau number 7. I use this for cooking, cutting food, pouches, whatever. And I think it's called a scarab. It's a little mini tool. I'm going to swap this out actually. In fact, both of these will be swapped out for a Leatherman multi-tool, which will combine two basically into one. But these work fine. This weighs nothing. It's got those little tools on it. Actually came in quite handy because one of the screws on my hiking pole came loose, and every time I put my weight on it, it was extending back in, sort of contracting. So tightened it up. But you know, that's why you carry one of those. So yeah, hold on, just carrying everything like that. It was just all the bits. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Spare Ziploc bags. Just, I think it's about 3 or 4 there, just for whatever. They all went in there. They all went like that. I found all this worked really well because everything went in its bag, and it was a damn sight not easy to pack that way. So all my hygiene stuff went in my hygiene bag, all the electronics went in electronic bags, and everything else that I couldn't figure out what it was went in this bag. And it just made packing so much quicker. I was getting my the pack away times and all the rest of it a lot quicker. I was able to get up and get away in under an hour sometimes, which was, you know, when you want to get up and get on the hike, you know, that's what you want. So yeah, all this works really well. Now we're going to move on to clothes, etc. We'll start off with the jacket I took. The jacket I took was the Bento windproof and waterproof system. This is the fleece that goes under the jacket. This creates the waterproof layer, and this is the outer windproof system. This system worked brilliantly. I can't praise this jacket system enough. So much so I'm probably going to get rid of my auto. I had one day of really heavy rain all day. On the second day, yeah, when I was walking along Loch Lomond, this kept me bone dry, absolutely bone dry. You have to get your brain around it. How a fleece under a non-waterproof jacket keeps you dry, but it did. It's a little bit warm. It was a little bit on the warm side, but the thing about it is it's so breathable that you get hot and you get sweaty, but it goes. It's not making you clammy. It just worked brilliantly. I can't rate this jacket highly enough. And of course, when it's not raining, you take the fleece out and you've got this windproof layer, which is just amazing. I just love this jacket. Really do love this jacket. Because it keeps the wind off you, which keeps the wind chill out, but it doesn't keep you warm, if that makes some weird sense. I'm quite a warm hiker, so most of the time I was wearing a thin base layer and this. This only went on when it was raining. When I got to the top of Devil's Staircase, there was a French woman, she's the one that took my photograph. She was complaining, she was cold. She was wearing a fleece jacket, and she had a hat on, and she had a scarf around her face, and she was freezing. And I had this on, and my base layer, and was toasty. It was just keeps the wind up, which stops you getting cold. It's not heating you up, it just, yeah, I can't. If you've got 170 quid, buy this system, because it's just absolutely brilliant. The only downside to it, if there is one, is that it won't be usable in the summer because it would be too warm. But I'm still going to use this jacket, the outer, in the summer because as a showerproof, that is showerproof. You could just, you know. But this on its own is light enough for the summer. And the thing about Paramo is you can just, some of the videos you see me doing this, on something I was so hot, I had all this rolled up like that. But you just brilliant. The only issue, if it had pit zips, that would be quite nice, but whatever. But I love this jacket. I can't rate it high enough, and it's now my go-to. Simple as that. So yeah, Paramo Bento with the accompanying fleece. So the other extremities, clothing-wise, I took a fleece jacket. I took this basically as a warm layer for the evenings. There was one night it was actually quite cold, so I put it on inside my sleeping bag just to keep everything a bit warm. Yeah, brilliant. I don't know whether I could have used the fleece off the Bento a bit more in this roll. I don't know, but this only weighs 350 grams, so not a huge weight just to take it, and it was just nice to wear something warm around campsites and yeah, etc. like that. So yeah, this is my fleece jacket. I took my tinny hat. This is the one thing I didn't wear. I don't know why. It was just too hot. I'd had my hair cut. I normally used to wear hats like this to keep the hair under control when I had long hair. So when I cut my hair, I found this a bit in the way, especially on the second day, because I took it off so I could wear the waterproof jacket and my hood up a lot of the time. So that basically got in the way. So what I ended up basically doing was sort of wearing a buff like that. This isn't the buff I took. I lost it. That buff has gone with me for years on trips and stuff, and I lost it on the bus coming home. So I had to go and buy a new one. But I've now swapped over to more of a baseball cap type thing. So that's what I now use, because you'd wear that with the hood up. So yeah, I'll be more like this, I think. But I don't know. This still will come out of me. I still will use it for day hikes and stuff, but for multi-day hiking, I don't know if it's up to the task. I don't know. I'm planning to do the Brecken's Way in June, and if it's really hot and sunny, that still might come with me, because I might need the sunshade more over my rest of my head. I don't know yet. So the jury's still out on that one. The low alpine gloves, I don't know, actually. I still don't know if I like these gloves. They're alright as long as your hands aren't cold. They have no real thermal properties. They keep the wind off, which is the reason why I got them, but there wasn't any thermal properties to them. So if your hands are cold and you put them on, it takes ages for them to heat up, which was a couple of times it was like that, but for summer they're fine. I'm going to invest next winter in a proper pair of sort of thermal gloves. I'll dig out some of my other ones, have a look through again, but they sort of worked. They were alright. Buff was brilliant. So yeah, that was it. That was them. So now we come on to the actual clothes I wore. Let's start off with underwear. Socks. I took 2 pairs of Bridgedales and a pair of, which I haven't got here, of bed socks. Whatever. Bridge hairs were fine. The problem I had with them was that I washed a pair and they wouldn't dry. I couldn't get them to dry properly in the amount of time I needed to. So I ended up on the last day having to wear my bed socks because these were too sweaty and all the rest of it. These are mediums, medium weight. With hindsight, I wish I'd bought lightweight, to be honest. They would have been perfectly fine. Yeah. So these are good for winter. I can see these being really good. So in the winter time, these would be brilliant. But I will be getting a pair of the lightweight versions, I think, for my shoes. They were brilliant. I had no blisters. I had no problems like that. But yeah, I think they were a bit too much for that time of year. But then I didn't know. So April, it snowed the week before, as I said. So I don't know. And they didn't dry quick enough for my taste. I was having to wash underwear and socks as I went, and I could get that to dry, get the tops to dry, but I couldn't get my socks to dry, so that was an issue. Underwear, pants, these were just Marks and Spencer's synthetic whatevers. Got them slightly bigger so they were a looser fit, and they worked perfectly fine. I had no chaffing, no soreness, nothing like that. So, and they washed it out quickly and dried quickly, so that was good. Base layer, oh, I love this base layer. This is just a mountain warehouse, what it's called. It's an ultra thin layer. It's brilliant. I love this layer. It weighs nothing, it folds down to nothing, it dries really quickly. Yeah, I will be getting another one of these, I think, or something similar, because that works really, really well. I also had a merino base layer, which was one of my old ones. I took it mainly for a bed thing, but I didn't wear it in bed. I think I wore it once. I ended up having to wear it at the end of the week as well, because I washed that and it was still drying, so I put this on. With hindsight, what I'm going to do is I took this fleece jumper and never wore it. Basically, if it was a bit colder, I might have, but I had absolutely no use for that. So that was dead weight. Was that 200 grams, 300 grams of dead weight? It's just a high gear fleece. But what I'm gonna do is get another one of these, and this merino top, which is slightly heavier. It's not as heavy as that fleece. Will act like a fleece jumper. I think that's a better way of going to keep the weight down. So yeah, that worked really well. The trousers. I didn't know what the weather. I knew it was going to rain a couple of days, so I was going to take like normal trousers and a pair of waterproofs. So I don't have any waterproofs, and I weighed them, and they were heavier than these. These are Sprayway all day trousers. They're waterproof, but you wear them all day. You wear them like a normal pair of trousers. They're sort of lined, so these were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. They were perfect for that time of year for doing that sort of stuff. When it rained, it just beat it off. When it was hot, they were so breathable. I never had sweaty legs or any problems like that. In summer, I reckon there would be too much, but for winter, summer, autumn, these were perfect. Absolutely, it's like I got mud all the way up here on Loch Lomond, and I thought, oh, I'd have to wash them, and I was like, oh god. So what I did was I just literally got a bottle of water, poured it over and washed the mud off, and not one bit of water went through. It was absolutely brilliant, and it dried off in next to no time. I mean, literally. Yeah, at the end of the week they needed a wash, but you can't just whack these through a machine really. You've got to wash them with the nip-wax stuff. But as a 3-season all day wearing trouser, I'm using these again and again. These were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so that was a clothes I wore. Last but not least were the shoes I wore. The shoes I took were the Morel Moab 2 Gore-Tex. I also paired them up with a little bit winky, but did the job. Superfeet green, Superfeet blue. The greens wouldn't fit. I wear greens in my Mendel's. They wouldn't fit in these, so I had to go for the blue. They work perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Really good boot. For that time of year, see, I don't know whether the waterproof Gore-Tex. I never had wet feet. I never got wet feet, but then most of it's trail walking. There wasn't really anywhere where I crossed a river or had to sort of like put them to the test. When it rained really heavily, I didn't get wet feet, so maybe that worked. But yeah, apart from that little niggle of whether or not I needed them to be waterproof, the Gore-Tex, I don't know. Even it got quite hot, and I had large Bridgedale mediums on, socks on, and I still didn't get sweaty feet or anything like that. I did take quite good care of my feet. There was a couple of times third day, my foot hurt, but that was down to an injury I'd got the day before. There's a lot of rock scrambling at the north end of Loch Lomond. Yeah, because the motto went F Loch Lomond. So you're constantly smacking your feet like this on rocks and stuff like that, and you're bending up, and then I bruised one of my feet, and that's why I stopped and soaked my foot. But apart from that, and general achiness, which I of course just have, the feeling of walking generally 100 miles, they were fine. Yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah, these will be my go-to trail shoes from now on. Well, I will have to because they cost me so much bloody money. But I'm glad I did. The Mendel's would have been overkill. I don't know if I'd actually done the walk. If I'd actually completed the walk, if I'd used Mendel's, to be honest. Yeah. So, yeah, I probably might even use in the summer now on Dartmoor, when it dries out on Dartmoor. I'll probably switch over to these. These are a lot like half the weight of my Mendel's, which helps so much, actually did. So yeah, the boots worked really well. I was impressed with them. They're a lot easier to get on and off as well. I know that sounds silly, but they just seem to be a lot less faff in the morning. You sort of just put your foot in, did him up, and off you went. The Mendel's you have to sort of undo and lace up from the halfway down. It's just those little things that day after day after day, you could sort of just get up, put your sleepers on, and yeah, it's just like wearing a pair of trainers. A little bit higher, but yeah, really good boot. So I think that's all of it really. So overall, my kit worked well. My base weight was about 9 kilos. Then on top of that, I had sort of nearly 2 kilos of food, a few other bits and bobs, miscellaneous food on top of that, and a litre and a half-ish of, 1.2 litres of water. So my weight on the first day, I reckon, was about 12 kilos, which isn't too shabby, not too bad. By the end, it was a lot less, so I'd eaten all the food, yeah, and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I learnt a lot. I learnt a lot of what kit you need, what works, what doesn't. I'm going to be changing a few things. I'm going to possibly change the inner in the hex peak. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just I could save 300 grams there. I want to go to a quilt. I'll save a bit more weight. My cook set needs changing, so I'm more comfortable eating. That was the biggest thing, I think, was the food and the sleeping bag. with the two sort of pains in the arse, if you like, that sort of niggled the trip. But even they weren't that bad. You know, the food was probably the worst. The food was worse, and that would be the main thing I'm going to change. But I should be putting all this into practice on the Brecons Way in June or July, whenever I actually get the chance to get my arse up there and have a crack at it. So thank you very much. Hope you find this helpful or interesting or not, whatever. And until next time, I'll see you again.